Welcome back to Viewpoints on the Line. The third issue up for discussion. We're talking about the environment. Now, that's an issue that's not about to go away. In fact, it's heating up. And if you look at that title, Drop the Extreme in the Green Debate, this article was written by Preston Manning. What he's saying in a nutshell is that you've got a lot of political posturing and finger-pointing going on. On one hand, you have, well, the extreme right-wing policies are going to destroy the environment. And on the other hand, well, extreme left-wing policies are going to destroy the economy. He's basically saying there's got to be an in-between somewhere. He also blames the media for politically posturing, not looking at the long term, but focusing basically on the short term. Once again, though, speaking on behalf of the media, the consumers that buy into the media are also to be blamed for that, according to dear Preston Manning. Now, he has a point here, because he's basically trying to, in a sense, of course there's a bit of an agenda here, but he's trying to make peace from that point of view, trying to look at real solutions to the problem. Now, I'm going to start with you this time when it comes to this whole finger pointing. It's been going on. There are definite extremes, according to what Preston Manning is saying here. Would you not agree?
I agree, and I think he's nailed it. That is that the political agendas, warring political agendas, interfere with just the rational pursuit of the truth. And so what gets the headlines? Well, it's that the house is burning down, not that, better wiring would prevent a fire. And so, in this case, I think there's a combination of forces. There are those who are ill-advised, those who are pushing an agenda that's for a more agrarian society, and if this is the way to get it, then better, all the better. There are downright anti-capitalists who just don't like rich people benefiting from making lots of cars and having lots of money while the rest of us, so they would want to see those factories shut down and that we should all live off the land and eat berries and hunt moose. So, I think there's not any one set of groups, any one group. There is a radical left, there's a center, there's a mass public who are just the victims of all of this propaganda. And then there are the scientists who fall into two camps, each side trying to be heard. And I don't think that necessarily the ones who are preaching all of the knowledge get heard. We get to hear that carbon is the enemy, and that's all we get to hear. Carbon, of course, is connected with production. Production is, associated with wealth. And so, you combine a little bit of unusually warm winter weather with a movie by a former vice president, and suddenly all heck breaks loose, and it's easy to sell just about any
There's still
agenda.
a lot of debate, though, when it comes to the whole philosophy of global warming. Now, according to the science of it, they say the globe is getting warmer.
Yes.
As to the effects of the natural process of things, because, we're also seeing earthquakes, which have nothing to do with global warming. Tsunamis, these types of things have nothing to do with the phenomena, and that's proven. So we're seeing a natural phenomena, but we're also seeing the human component of it. And it really is a debate as to what's causing what. Because on one extreme, it's humans. Humans are causing all of it, so we need to do something there, and it's all in our hands. But on the other side, and I'm not even sure if there's another side from that point of view. I don't think anybody is washing their hands of it and saying it's not a problem to begin with. We all know we need to do something, but we have a lot of barking going back and forth on both sides. So I think he has a point here. What about you, Krishna? What do you say?
Quite frankly, I think it's a red herring. I think Mr. Manning has gone, actually, he's picking up the agenda on behalf...
Of what side?
On the conservative side.
Okay.
and it's one of those fear tactics that is introduced in the debate to really keep people quiet. We don't have anything like a debate that went on in Germany between the fundies and the realos. We're much more sober, and the way we're approaching this is very quiet, but it's very, very intrusive in many ways, but at the same time it is responsible. And I think this matter of extremes, whether we're talking about dark green or light green or it doesn't exist. Even with the Green Party, their approach to it's quite sober when you compare to what's happening in Japan, what's happening in Germany, on the continent, and I think Mr. Manning really should take a lesson from his predecessors. Especially when we talk about Mr. Aberhart, when he went up there with a chalk and blackboard and explained to people this is what is happening in the environment, and maybe if we approach things a little bit more realistically and inject a bit of education in
But isn't that in essence what he's saying? Because although traditionally he has the record of being generally more on the conservative side, he was actually critiquing both sides here, saying that the conservative side tends to finger point at the traditionally left side and say that they're taking it too far, whereas the other side does the same to the other side. So in a way, he is suggesting that we need to look at it from a realistic point of view and stop going to the extreme on either side of the issue.
Yes, but you know, I think the very fact that he's brought the outline, the agenda which he brought, which he actually has introduced here, is one of is really to kill debate rather than taking that responsible approach that he's actually advocating.
So you think he has an underlying agenda to kill the debate?
I think so.
What do you think, Paul?
I didn't get that impression from the article. Now, I can't say I'm an ardent follower of Preston Manning one way or another, but I would say that, I mean, there are a few things that I think at least the policymakers have to pay attention to. One, the drive, all of the fever about this issue can drive people to say, look, we don't know that it won't lead to a catastrophe, and we can't afford to take that chance. So just in case there's a catastrophe waiting, we have to do something. That is foolish policy making. That's not a basis for policy making. The only time at which a policy should be made is when there's evidence that a problem exists, and there's evidence that the solution you have in mind will work. There is no evidence right now that any of the plans we've been seeing proposed, especially Kyoto, will have any effect on A, the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, or B, global warming. The jury is not out yet on whether man's contribution to CO2 levels is actually causing global warming or whether this is just part of a natural long-term trend. And so I think it's a few things. The other thing we have to be careful about is not to turn back the clock on productivity. The reason we're able to do this science is because we have fancy computers that allow us to model, and this is because we have established such great wealth through productivity. And if we squash productivity, we'll actually be squashing...
It's a delicate balance.
Well, we'll be squashing our ability to go ahead and learn more about... I mean, cars create less pollution now than they ever have, and that's because of a profit motive. People wanting to spend less on fuel bought cars that burned less fuel, and producers who wanted to make cars using less fuel have similarly taken production methods.
Speaking of those cars, though, people are not really, according to stats, willing to put their money where their mouth is. Everybody is up in arms over the environment, but people are not willing to put their money where their mouth is. Interesting thing what you said, though, I have to say, to close on with Preston Manning. He ended up becoming sort of victim of his own argument here, because now you're suspecting that maybe he has an agenda of trying to stifle the debate. When it comes to this entire debate about the environment, people are so suspicious of everybody else that it's becoming an issue, a major issue by itself. I mean, we've turned this thing into, to me, all kinds of proportions.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, David Suzuki said he's going to be starting a cross-country tour, and I was just wondering whether to buy the T-shirt or the coffee mug.
Both. Paul and Krishna, we're out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to go for break now. When we come back, I'll be talking to a lawyer about surviving your divorce. Stay tuned.